Yo, 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 what is up, everyone? Here, finally live. I think it's been a couple weeks. I've been super busy. Some life things have gotten in the way of being able to go live and also making long form videos. But I wanted to hop on. I committed to myself to do a live today. So we're here. What's up? I don't think anyone's in right now, but excited to catch up. Some cool comments came out today. Wasn't a big day in terms of that. I just saw Fantastic Four First Steps a couple days ago. I loved it. If you watch the channel, you know I'm a huge DC guy. So the fact that I actually liked it more than Superman says a lot. And I've been down on Marvel for a little bit. So I think it's pretty cool that they were able to win me over with Fantastic Four First Steps. So I don't expect many people to join in. It's pretty late on my side. It's about 11 o'clock on my end. I know a lot of people come in from different time zones, but excited to catch up. What is up? What is up? Let me know if you are watching, if you can hear me, because I can never tell with this. And last time I went live, it actually cut off after like a minute. That was mainly because of the internet, but hopefully this is working out. But yeah, just going through some things. I'll probably open up on YouTube. But what is up? If you can hear me, let me know in the chat, please. I don't think anyone's here, but we'll still go through some comics. I did get this today, Justice League Dark Tomorrow. Johan, what's up? I'm excited to read it. I'm not so excited about the DC event, DCKO. That I am like, seriously, the absolute. Oh, you can't hear me? My bad. What about now? Can you hear me now? What about now? I can see my mic is on. Can you hear me? Let me know if my mic is working. Oh, I better get excited about the KO event. I'm excited for the variant covers, but the fact that oh, thank you, Mark. The fact that the Absolute Universe is leading straight into a fighting tournament, which I thought it would be a little bit more epic than hey, let's do Mortal Kombat but DC characters. Like we've already done that with Mortal Kombat versus the DC universe, so I was not in the mood for that. Small world. Mark Legion is a good friend and is a pretty good reason why I'm on the internet talking about my passion. So love Mark, don't love DCKO, but I'm excited for, again, those variant covers. Those are going to be fun. I haven't read this yet, but I'm excited to kind of dive into it because I've been thirsting over what happened to Booster Gold. Arguing with you is someone choosing to be wrong. Yeah. But some fun stuff I actually read today. The one book I read was The Ultimates, number 14, which I love that book. That book is awesome. I love the fact that Marvel is like, hey, you love this book, why don't we end it? And they say they're going to end that book and that universe. They'll probably renumber it and relaunch it, but there's nothing more frustrating than Marvel being like, hey, we got this good thing going, why don't we ruin it? Which seems to be the thing that they've got going on lately, especially after watching Fantastic Four First Steps, which I really loved. And I'm like, oh, like I would really love to see more of this 828 universe. And now they're just diving straight into things. Yes, Mark does love to chat about that. And what's up? I'll let you know. I love these like one shots. I really love the DC All In tie-in, And I guess I'm just like burnt out on events. Like I'm not really when they announced Ultimate Universe Endgame, I also like rolled my eyes. So maybe I'm just not in an event mood. I did like the All In tie-in because I felt like that was a really good way of doing like, it followed Absolute Power. It was a good way to kind of tie that together and set up the new sort of status quo for the DC universe. And yeah, again, the an event for me is not too exciting. Dark Tomorrow was solid one shot that sets things in motion that are coming and some that has already started. Great set of players. That's what I was hoping. Batman Beyond. I did not read the We Are Tomorrow tie-in, so with the DC Infinite app, I'm hoping to catch up on that because I think the Terrific 10 is going to be a big part of what's to come. The Terrific Mr. Terrific Year One book has been amazing, so I want more of that character too. So Bradley, you've been on my ass about that video. To be honest, the I made the thumbnail for the video, and it's not a Thunder video. I made the NBA explained in comic book terms, especially with like all the movement and stuff like that. So I made the thumbnail, and I have my thoughts about like what is gonna do it. But every time I kind of put it together, I don't know if it can live up to the standard of that Luka Doncic video. So I appreciate you holding me accountable because literally every video I've made for the last like 4 or 5 videos, you've been in the comments, and I have not forgotten. It's literally in my like queue of things to do. Is just a matter of like, okay, like how do I get my thoughts together? And then also the NBA keeps getting crazier and crazier with things like, all those gambling stuff going on in Gilbert Arenas and all that. So do you still think Crisis on Infinite Earth is not a hard enough reboot in DC Comics? Mark will argue over that and there's a time. um I'm hyped to see Darkseid come to the forefront too. I don't know if I'm really excited about it being like a fighting tournament. I think someone made a point in the Comic Pals. Joshua Williamson did this in Robin. I really liked the Robin version of it. It really was Mortal Kombat where they sent them to an island and stuff, and you're gonna have some really cool like power scaling. And for me, who does a lot of YouTube shorts, I'm sure the YouTube shorts for all those fights is gonna, my channel's probably gonna hit a crazy view count around that time. So be sure to watch like things like Comics Explained or Dan Exclaims. Like those channels are gonna go crazy with all the fights and stuff like that. It's the first event created exclusively for YouTube Shorts. We Are Tomorrow generally wasn't for me. I was excited to kind of see the art, but I don't know. I always felt like weird with World's Finest kind of crossing over with like the main DC universe. Like I like that book sort of being its own thing and sort of like this silver agey team up book where you're able to have a lot of fun with it. The fact that it kind of like went into the mainline universe, which kind of makes sense with Mark Waid sort of like shepherding a lot of the big stuff in Justice League Unlimited and stuff like that. But for me, I was not really into it. Hashtag bring back Flatline. That was a great character. I think that was a really cool character that honestly, I think with characters like that, DC and Marvel don't know how to really like market them and stuff like that. Like they need to figure out how to like, I don't know, create like a compact comic with Flatline on the cover. Because I think if you get her in like bookstores and stuff like that and to a wider audience, she would be a lot more successful than a comic book shop with a lot of old people like me. Mora did only like 2 issues. Yes, and Mora also like I think isn't that the which was it Unlimited or was it World's Finest where he drew that page with like 800 that comic with like 800 characters in it. So I forgive him for only doing 2 issues of that event. We Are Yesterday was a fun story. I mean, like Mark Waid, like his floor is really high. Like I didn't expect it to be bad or anything like that, but I don't know. I again, like I'm kind of like burnt out on events. they bail on the characters too soon. Like Airwave right now is getting a lot of page time, but he'll gone before you know it. Yeah, and sometimes too, like what's frustrating about that is that sometimes they'll like switch the status quo of a character and then just like ignore it, or really like for example, like the hell that John Kent has gone through the past couple years of like, okay, like who wants John Kent? Who wants to change up what John Kent's up to the last few years? And that character had a lot of potential, was Superman for a little bit, but now is like the third or fourth lead on a Secret Six book, which is kind of insane. But I think if DC figured out how to make Super Sons really popular again, whether it be like again like a new format like compact comics, I really like the animated movie. Like I think that's sort of like the sweet spot for John, just because like Damien, if you make them a little bit like older and stuff like that, they just kind of like fold into like the other characters. Like, when you make John older, it's just like, oh, that's like Connor or Superboy. Like what made them interesting and unique sort of goes out the window. And same thing with like Robins. It's like as Damien, like if you make him a little bit older and he's not sort of like Batman's younger son, like blood son, it becomes like, all right, what makes him different from all the other Robins? And especially when he's drawn by like Dan Moore. I think Dan Moore, when he draws the Robin, like unless you know the costume, they all look the same. And I have to catch up on Unlimited too. Yeah, I like if DC, like, I mean, Absolute Power would have been the event to sort of like let John go. But I don't know. I don't think they want to send Clark down like a dark path anytime soon, especially after his movies come out. So I think John is just going to be in a place of like, again, limbo for the next couple of years. I don't think they really want to change much as to what's going on with like Superman outside of like maybe like powering him up, just to big him up now that the DCU is running and stuff like that. But I don't know if they would ever kill John. Especially, I mean, depends who gets, like if Tom King writes him, I'm sure they'll let him do it since he's so tight. High up on the DC food chain, but I don't know if they'll do that, just because I feel like the natural instinct for the writer would probably be to be like, all right, let's make Superman depressed. Yeah, Johan, you and Mark are really going at it over the Crisis and the reboots. But what else have you guys been reading? I have like a huge stack of the last few weeks comics right here. This dope new history of the DC universe. I liked issue 1 a lot better than issue 2. The Flash is really starting to pick up. Absolute Flash. You know, it's still, I think, like on the bottom of my absolute like ranking list, but it's still, this book is really high on it, which, Absolute Batman is really good. This, I didn't finish issue 2, but issue 1 was amazing. I didn't expect Crypto to be so damn emotional, and no one warned me about it. The World to Come, we find out that Black Panther's white son is not really his son. So they definitely got us all on that. Again, Mr. Terrific Year 1, this is just another cover. Love that book. Exquisite Corpses, I like it. I think it's like Tinian doing like really good stuff. I think for the last few years with James Tinian, a lot of like his indie books have been very like samey, like, hey, like World Tree and Department of Truth were very similar to me, so I felt like, like there's a lot of that stuff, but I think this is like probably Tinian's like best new indie title in a while. New Gods, probably the best ongoing book at DC right now. I think Mark will probably back me up on that. This book is amazing. Evan Cagle doing career work. Ron V, still one of the best. This was a surprise hit. Godzilla #1 if you're a fan, like when I was growing up, there was a Godzilla like 98 animated series where they would like link up telepathically with like Godzilla and the kaijus and stuff like that. I I, I may be talking to myself, or when I'm like, oh, I love that. And this definitely gives me those vibes. Tim Seeley is one of my favorite like creators out right now, but like Godzilla is this was a great number one. So, and it's thick. You got a lot of story in this book. Um, Armor, that's older. Again, Mr. Terrific. Planet Death. I've been meaning to read this because I'm a huge Robert Venditti fan. Also, I recorded some like short form content about this because I went to the signing. If you see like right there, is this one signed? Yeah, this one's signed. By Robert Venditti, one of my favorite creators. Also, another copy signed, and then the Ashcan. That's dope. I'm glad you like the Godzilla mark, especially like there's so many Godzilla books right now. I wonder like he must be like selling like crazy because at Marvel every week, they pump out a number one of Godzilla versus like Thor or something like that. But it's cool to see like a new Godzilla like focused story. Like that book again reminds me of that animated series and a little bit of Pacific Rim, which is a classic. Um, Fantastic Four, this again, Marvel doing what Marvel does, relaunching a book with the same writer on it. Like why? And it also like is in the middle of an event. I just can't. Oh yeah, you do pull all Godzilla except the Marvel. I mean, some of those covers are really cool. I've they've gotten me on some of that. Beneath the Trees. This is really cool. Sequel to the like big indie series. That's really cool, especially if you like Dexter and stuff like that. Aquaman, really solid. Jeremy Adams does not miss. Sisterhood. I thought this was a one shot, which is crazy. So I bought this because the last Maytel Ghost Machine one was a one shot. So I'm reading this and I'm getting towards the end of the issue and I'm like, how is this gonna wrap up and stuff? And then I realize it's part one of five. So yeah, this was solid. I really like the I forget the name of the I think it Devoured. I don't know, but her first title at Ghost Machine was really solid. Ultimate Wolverine, probably my favorite X book at Marvel because all of them are just not great. I've been reading Ultimate X-Men on Marvel Unlimited, and that book finally clicks. And if you're looking for more like traditional like X-Men and stuff like that, this definitely does it. Just because the mainline X-Men book is not great. Uh, Resurrection Man. This Ram V again, dude, just probably the best writer at DC. You know which one isn't. Hornsby and Halo is great. Hornsby and Halo is great. My favorite absolute book. I think I'm the based on like I was talking about this on the Comic Pal show, and I think I'm the only one that like ranks Absolute Green Lantern as like my number one absolute book. This book is insane. Like the way Al Ewing sold this book about it being biblical and epic, I was like, yeah, right. This is the shit. I love this book. Every issue, I will happily admit I was wrong about this. Like when I saw the preview art, when I made videos about it, I was like, I don't know, but this is it. Wonder Woman is your number one. Wonder Woman. I love Hayden Sherman's art, like especially like in Dark Patterns and stuff. So it's been cool to see them like become like a superstar with Absolute Wonder Woman. But like all the Absolute books are really good. Like mine is always like it's a tug of war between Green Lantern and Absolute Batman. Like Absolute Batman, like Dragota's art and like Scott Snyder. Arguably, like if the quality keeps up with Absolute Batman, I think it might be on the level of Scott's Court of Owls. And I'm not afraid to say that. Captain America number one. The one number one where it makes sense that Marvel made it a number one. I like this first issue. Hoping the second issue doesn't jump the shark. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. This is a lot of fun. I think Godzilla is the king of the crossover. The first series went crazy, was super viral. Brian Buccellato is like one of my favorite Flash creators of all time. They were on my podcast. Plug. But I've been liking this. This has been cool and fun. This is Crypto number 8. I don't think anyone, like, I haven't heard anyone talk about this book, but this is Los Monstros by James Robinson, who's written a lot of classic DC stories like the JSA and countless other. Earth 2, Johan and Mark, you guys have been, debating the multiverse. But Los Monstros, this book is awesome from Dark Horse. It's like Fables, it's like LA Noir. Like, this is a really good indie book, and I think not enough people are talking about it. I picked it up on a whim because I was like, oh, like, I've been hearing a lot about the Mark Spears like monsters and stuff like that, but this is I picked it up because I like the cover and I was like, this is kind of cool and stuff like that. And this has been amazing. So if I can influence you in any buying decision, buy Los Monstros. Geiger, I think this is just like, again, like me picking up my pull. I've been so behind on Geiger. And then Ultimate X-Men, like I said, I've been catching up on that, which is really cool. LA Noir, have you played that, Johan? That's like one of my favorite games from back in the day. It's funny, it's back in the day now. But Absolute Martian Manhunter. This is the last issue. I read issue 5. Spoiler alert: Darkseid shows up in it, which was insane. Ultimates. This is 13. We're on 14. 14 is in my bag because I read it on the train. The Ultimates is Dennis Camp is he is really one of the best in the game right now. Between that, our Martian Manhunter, like, I really like that. Assorted Crisis Events, which is also what they're writing. And then New DC #1. I really like this. This is a great like tie-in, and for me, and especially not as a historian like Mark is around DC history, it's cool to have like a reference guide and something new that really establishes things. I will say issue 2 of this makes things more confusing than it does actually simplify it. Like the fact that they made like the Justice League New 52 like the origin of the Justice League and put like Cyborg in it, and then they were like, oh yeah, we put Cyborg in stasis after they defeated Darkseid, and then he comes out of stasis to form the Teen Titans. That was like, honestly, I was like, just don't include Cyborg in the Justice League if that was going to be your explanation as to why he's a part of both teams. But that's what I've been reading lately. Today in the shop, it was lighter than usual. Out of Alcatraz #5 came out. That's a really solid like indie book. Lost Fantasy, they came out with like a second or third printing of one of those. That's really cool. And I'm gonna make a pickup video. I recorded some for the shorts and stuff. At least the new history can prevent me and Mark from debating then. Yes, that this is meant to sort of like quell a lot of those debates that people have been having around DC history and stuff like that. Which, to be honest, I made a video about like reviewing the first issue, and I made a comment, and the comments also made this comment where it's like, well, in 3 to 5 years, this will probably mean nothing, and they'll reboot it again. So, knowing DC, they will probably make a new history of the DC universe pretty soon. But I like it as a reference, and again, it's been cool to see them reward Mark Waid after working, like being out of DC for so many years, to see him back and sort of like, at the head of things, especially with his work being such a big inspiration for what's happening in the DCU, whether it be like the Kingdom Come stuff or Birthright, like his work and everything he's done. And even like on the Marvel side, like a lot of his stuff inspired what was going on in Fantastic Four. So it's been cool to see him like, be at the top of things, because there are so many creators of his generation that they sort of like that still have it, are really still talented and could write really great work, but they just, pushed to the side. And it's been cool to see Mark Waid really sort of like capture the head of DC and really be at the top of it. I think he, if it wasn't for Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson, he'd be sort of like the most important writer at DC right now. Then the internet would get more boring. Yes, it would. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited to read that Dark Tomorrow. But again, I'll probably make a video about DC KO tonight and probably try to publish it tomorrow about my full thoughts. But I wanted to make this live a little bit shorter than usual. But I wanted to get back on track. Mark has been holding me accountable. That man does not miss a live show. Hurricane, rain, sleek, or snow, he's going to be doing his DC show every week, and I need to get on that cadence. But life, again, work schedules changed around. Been watching my son a lot more during the days. So doing my longer form videos, my lives, have been a little bit tougher. But I definitely miss the interaction because I haven't been able to like bounce off my thoughts on some of the things I've been reading, and I've just been internalizing it and arguing with myself in my head. But what I love about sort of like doing this YouTube thing is the fact that I get to connect with new people, talk about comics, and sometimes change my opinion, like the sort of underrated aspect of, growing an audience and growing a community is meeting people that you've probably would never talk to in person, but now you have this bond over something you're really passionate about, and it's been cool. Like I feel like, hey, like I have to make sure that I do these things. Mark does have his own Discord, and he is, as you can tell, Johan, very active on IG. Mark, I've known for years on the internet. Again, he's part of why I am doing my own thing. Like, he's really inspiring and has been cool. He's had official DC collaborations. So, like, if you're a DC fan, please subscribe to Mark, Legion of Comics. Some great content, great community. Definitely, especially in those Tuesday streams, are there's not a better DC stream going on. Specifically for DC stuff, that Tuesday one. Sadly, I work during those hours now, so I don't get to jump in as much as I want, but I've won a couple things from there. Also, it's been cool to like, again, to learn things, like even me as a DC fan, like Mark's knowledge about the history, and he's a second, third generation comic collector, so he knows a lot more than I could possibly know. I just like to talk shit on the internet, so don't listen to me, listen to Mark. Yeah, yeah, gotta throw some water. Yeah, I am okay. It's just mainly again, like my son is out of school, so now I have to wake up earlier and hang out with him, which is good. We get to go to the comic shops on days like today and stuff like that. But it is harder to record those videos and edit them. I will say I got a little bit more elaborate with like my longer form videos and editing. So I just need to go back to like, hey, just turning on the camera, talking about some topics that I'm really passionate about. Again, DC did announce a couple things at San Diego Comic Con, so I'm going to talk about that. I did post my Fantastic Four First Steps review today, which was really fun. I loved that movie. The more I think about it, I love it even more, which is sad because, next we got Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, and the another thing about the shorts is just like I've been sort of like, hey, holding myself accountable to like posting a short form thing on my TikTok and my Instagram, because really that's the only way to really like grow those platforms. And that's really easy. Like honestly, I like, outside of the ones where they're like pickups or comic reviews, they're really just like memes where I just, I'm like, hey, this would be funny. This is a trending sound. Why don't I do that? So that's much easier than, developing an idea, articulating sort of my thoughts around a news item and stuff like that. But as we get into the fall, I'm hopefully as gray gets back into school, I'll be ramping up the content when it comes to the long form. Hey man, what's up? So I picked up Animal Man because you just couldn't stop recommending it. I haven't read it yet, but I am really looking forward to doing so. Weird Wild Gamer, you won't regret it. Again, I keep it within arm's reach at all times. Grant Morrison's Animal Man, all time comic book. I'll recommend it again. Also, Jeff Lemire's. So after you read Grant Morrison's, pick up Jeff Lemire's Animal Man, and you won't regret it. What a great film. The sad part is already over. Back to the regular scheduled MCU mess. Yeah, I mean, that was the sad part. Like, when I watched the post-credit scene, I was like, oh, man, oh, fuck. I was like, I really... but it was cool to get that one movie, you know. I as sort of the MCU has been sort of like a mess. I did really like Thunderbolts, and I am getting to the point where it's like, hey, I'm just gonna enjoy the thing in front of me and not think about 2-3 movies ahead. But I really love the cast. Pedro surprised me as Reed. I really liked that portrayal. Johnny was cool. The Thing. The 828 stuff. Like, if they set a new Marvel universe in that Earth 828, that I think would save the Marvel universe. Like, imagine Spider-Man running around there and stuff like that. I thought it was a really great love letter to what Jack and Stan Lee created. That was really cool. Okay, I'm glad then, because I love the chill vibes. Yeah, I'm chill as well. What other things? Any other recommendations I can think about? I would say, in terms of that, like that kind of thing where I'm like, hey, you have to read it. I'm trying to think if I have something like right behind me that'd be a really good recommendation. Um, hmm, hmm. I've talked about this a little. But this is the book that got me into comics, like reading comics. Like, I've always been a fan, like, of like Batman the animated series, that kind of stuff. Uh, I call Chris vibe the Labubu vibe. Yes, I have my, this is actually my girlfriend's one, because this is the secret Labubu. On top of that NBA video I was talking about earlier, I had made a thumbnail for a long form Labubu video. So when I get time for it, it may be the biggest video I ever made. But yes, love Labubus. Now back to the comic recommendation. Green Arrow. This is, as you can see from the yellow, is the original trade back paperback that my uncle gave me one day. He's like, hey, I think you're into comics, right? And I was like, yeah, like I like comics, And he gave me this, and it changed my life. Like, it's why I read comics. And it's by Kevin Smith, Phil Hester. This one right here, I'm only missing one signature. So this is signed and remarked by Phil Hester, the artist. Also signed and remarked by the inker, Andy Parks, which dope. And then I just need Kevin Smith. He has a comic shop in Jersey. He does like signings there all the time. So I have to, be a man and get my license and drive up there and get it signed by him, because this, again, this is my original copy. It is well worn, loved, and read. This again can't, and also like what's really cool about it, like it follows like after like he comes back to life and stuff like that. And I was never lost or confused. So like when people talk about continuity, if you have the thing that really sort of like beats sort of like the continuity conversation is a great story. If you put together a great story, it doesn't matter, like you don't need to know like the entire history of what's been going on for the last few years. I have issue 1 also signed and remarked by both of them. They must have done a few events together. I think they're both from Missouri. So like when I went to PlanetCon, they are really close, and they ink, and they're basically inseparable. So they're really cool. It was cool to meet them at PlanetCon that year, but they're based in Kansas City, so they're both like really tight. And Andy is the creator of the comic for Extraction. So that Netflix movie with Chris Hemsworth, if you're a fan of that, he made that comic, which is really cool. I have something here. I'll be right back. Yeah, of course, Becker. Kansas City guy, so he's probably been to a lot of signings with them. Where is it? I'll be right back. I've shown this off before. Uh, this is actually an original piece that I got commissioned by by Phil Hester, inked by Andy Parks. It's a Damian Wayne original. Uh, Pretty dope. I don't want to say what I paid for it because I feel like it was way too low. And I was telling Becker, Mark, I was like a full body for the amount that he charged me, and then it was inked by Andy. I was like, man, he should be charging more. I should be his agent. So really cool, classic Batman character. I don't think I've seen him do another Damien, and it's really cool because like the way he got the cape, like look at the staff, the bats. It's just really really cool. It's one of my favorite things. I have it framed. I have to put it up. I think I'm gonna create like a corner in my. It's a crime that you didn't get Grayson. Yeah, it's also a crime I didn't get Todd. My son's middle name is Todd. But I wanted to do Damien. It was just a little different. I figured like he's probably done a million Nightwings and has also like drawn Nightwing in the comics. So I thought this would be really cool. And again, it's like one of my first like original pieces, which is dope. So I always hold it close to me because Phil created one of the great stories and is a part of my comic book reading history. So to own something like this is amazing. And I was saying like I want to create like a little corner in my office to be like a short form like content area where like I do reviews. So like I really want this to be a part of the backdrop, and then also this is different. This is by Ricardo Ortiz. This, if you're not a fan of anime or manga, this is Giorno from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Ricardo Ortiz Lopez is a Puerto Rican artist. He's done like Hardstyle Juice, which was a wrestling comic and stuff like that. So I definitely want to put these two original pieces up when I get that little project started in my office. I also have a Deku from Chris Samney. So, as we were talking about the new DC history, these covers are amazing, and I would never be able to afford a a DC cover from Chris Samney. So I have a little like small, I think like a 8x8 Chris Samney Deku from My Hero Academia, and that's definitely gonna go on that corner. But just wanted to flex a little. I know Mark has probably seen some of that stuff. But it's cool to kind of share that with you all. Casino, what's up? How you been? It's been a while. Sorry about the lack of long form videos. I feel like I haven't seen people's names in a while. Johan is super active in the Discord, so I feel like I haven't lost touch with you. So really appreciate that. But yeah, guys, appreciate you all showing up. Wanted to pop up, do a live. Again, get that streak back going. Hopefully, be back on a weekly cadence. So appreciate you all hanging out with me, talking comics. Again, this was super informal. I talked a little bit about some of the comics and my thoughts on Fantastic Four, but it was cool to hang out and talk a little bit. Appreciate you, Mark. That is the second ever, or the third, super chat. So good night, Mark. Have a great, morning. It's going to be rough waking up at 5 a.m. because I'll definitely be asleep. But appreciate you and appreciate everyone that showed up tonight.